Hey guys, Basement Horrors here, and today I'm going to be reading you another 10 horror stories. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Number 1. This story is in a woman's perspective. I was getting ready for bed late one night, wearing minimal clothes because it was a hot summer night, with the windows open. I clicked off the bedside lamp and turned over to go to sleep. It was pitch black in my room, because that's the only way I can sleep. Just as I closed my eyes, I heard, clear as day, the shutter of a camera click from over my shoulder. I whirled around and fumbled for the light, but when it turned on, there was no one in sight. I shrugged it off as my imagination and hesitantly turned the light back off and curled up once more. Just as I completely dismissed any fears as an overreaction, I heard a low chuckle coming from over my shoulder once more. My bedroom's on the second floor. Number 2. I come down to the kitchen for breakfast on a Saturday morning. My mom and my sister are already awake, and they look exhausted. My mom asks me, "Did you sleep all right?" "Yeah," I say. "Even after you woke up?" I woke up. Sometime in the middle of the night, I had started screaming. My mom rushed into my room and found me sitting up in bed screaming, "Roy, Roy, Roy, Roy." She did her best to calm me down while shooing away my mad sister, who had stormed in to find what was going on. She asked me who Roy was, but I would only say he was a bad man, and didn't say anything but Roy's a bad man. I'm shocked as they're telling me this, and they're surprised that I don't remember. But then again, I'm a sound sleeper and can doze through lightning storms. We write it off as some weird nightmare that I don't remember. Years later, I'm off my first year of college. My mom sends me a videotape in the mail. She didn't mention it before I had left as in, "Hey, keep your eye on the mailbox," or anything. I press play, and it's my mom taking a video camera through our house. She was moving, and sent the tape as one last walkthrough of the now empty house before she left. It was sweet and a little tear-jerking until she said, "So here's something you might find interesting." She approached her closet in her bedroom. This closet, aside from being the hiding place for all the Christmas gifts, was also packed full of old luggage and other odds and ends. You can only go 3 feet in before you would have to start climbing on things to go farther. She goes in with the camera, and I see that there are purple crayons drawings on the wall, down at the height where a small child would draw. There are random scribbles, some stick figures, something that may have been a dog. It was already puzzling, because I had no memory of ever playing in the closet, and I don't know how I would have drawn on the walls when they were, in my mind, always covered. Then the camera comes to the word on the wall, "Roy," and my mom must not have remembered that night. She said, "Roy, I wonder who Roy is." Number 3. The summer before my last year of college, I lived in a treehouse on my friend's property on a large island. Set back in the woods a bit, it was pretty secluded. I loved it. It was quiet, and I could do pretty much whatever I wanted, which included getting an entire stack. I also had an extension cord running from the workshop up to my tree dwelling, allowing for a few lights, a record player, and a cell phone charger. One night, after a long day of working, a fun but tiring tourist town retail job, I came home, grabbed a drink, ditched my pants, and got to work. I stayed up pretty late, maybe 2 a.m., then tucked myself into bed. To preface, I experience sleep paralysis a few times a year, usually when I'm stressed out. This was something entirely different. I woke up sometime later, maybe a few hours. It was still dark. There was a shrill noise ringing through my head, almost like high-pitched static. My eyes popped open, and the entire treehouse was glowing red. My entire body felt like it was buzzing. I could look around, but I couldn't move. Slowly, the red light, the vibration in my core, and the noise faded out, pretty much in sync. Once they had all disappeared completely, I could move again. Breathing heavily, I sat up and turned on my lamp. The horses in the barn next door were losing the crap. They were screaming and everything. I'm not going to do it. I was so freaked out, I couldn't get back to sleep for hours. I tried to read a book, but I couldn't concentrate. Finally, as the sun started to rise, I dozed off again. When I woke up, I went to the property owner's house. Part of the rental deal included bathroom, kitchen, laundry access, and made some oatmeal. I was still freaked out, but happy to have slept. A few hours later, I headed into work. Here's where it gets creepy. I work with this awesome girl who is now one of my closest friends. We'll call her Kelly for privacy's sake. As soon as I walked in, she noticed how tired I was. Throughout the evening, I was just kind of floating with my mind elsewhere. "Come here," she beckoned, when the shop had cleared out and around dinner time. "What's going on with you?" I told her about the red light and the paralysis and the horses. She nodded. "Let me tell you something," she said. "There's something really wrong with this island." She went on to tell me a story. When she was a kid growing up on the other side of the island, her grandparents owned a big piece of property with a small farm. One evening, she was there with her family, including parents, siblings, and cousins, aunts, and uncles. When her grandmother called everyone into dinner, the kids came running and left toys all over the yard. After the meal, her grandfather offered to pick up after the kids. Came back about 10 minutes later. He didn't have any of the toys with him. He looked like he'd seen a ghost, and his face was white as a sheet. "What's wrong with you?" her grandmother asked him. He shook his head and went straight to bed. Some of the adults went out into the yard to check out the situation. Toys were right where all the kids had left them. The field up beyond the yard was smoldering. Worried that there had been a bushfire, everyone walked out to check it out. When they got there, there was a perfect circular ring, about 6 feet across, burned into the tall grass. The grass never grew back, and Kelly said she always got a weird feeling whenever she got near the circle. Her grandfather wouldn't mow near it, and everyone who saw it just picked up bad vibes. "This isn't the first time they've been here," she added. "They come here all the time. My son used to see them when he was little, and he would try to talk to them." "Who?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "He just called them green men." 4. When I was around 13 or 14, I got home from school and was home alone. I was a kind of anxious kid, and this was before cell phones were so common, about 2002, I think. I called my mom at work a lot. This involved calling the security desk, and they would come get her off the factory floor. She told me that I couldn't call her at work anymore because she could get in trouble. Previously, I would call about things like, "When are you coming home?" and just to make up stuff to talk about, because I was bored or lonely, so I get it. Recently, my mom had purchased on credit a big flat-screen TV and stand from Best Buy, and we spent tons of time treating ourselves to the living room like movie theater. Sorry, guys. We had over 200 VHS tapes. We lived with my grandma while I was growing up in the basement apartment. It was a walkout. We had a full kitchen and bathroom while Grandma lived upstairs. I came home on the bus and noticed that my grandma had left the garage door open. She was a little forgetful sometimes, so it was something she did from time to time. I went straight to the basement from my garage and into my room. I remember looking at her like, "Geez, I thought I just cleaned up in here. It's a mess already." I was a bit of a slob as a kid when it came to my room, though, so I didn't think much of it. I was only in there for a few minutes before deciding to go watch some TV. I got to the living room and it was gone. Now, I'm not the brightest crayon in the box when it comes to real-life stuff at this age, so I'm mostly confused. I honestly believe at this point that the TV is broken and Mom sent it to Best Buy to get it repaired or something. I go upstairs to my grandma's house to use the phone. Our phone line downstairs we only use for internet. At the time, I called my mom at work knowing she's going to be pretty mad, and she is. It went a little something like this. They brought her to the phone. "What? Sorry to call you, just wondering, where's the TV? What are you talking about? It's downstairs where it always is." "No, it's gone. Is it in the shop?" That's when she got serious. "Are you home alone? Is Grandma there?" "No, she's gone. She left the garage door open when she left." "Oh my gosh, get out of there. Go to the bathroom and lock yourself. I'm coming home." At this point, I hear footsteps running loudly up our basement stairs. The access to the basement was through the garage, same as the access to the upstairs house. I screamed, dropped the phone, corded phone on the wall, ran to the back of the house where the bathroom was, slamming into the door, locking it, and opening the bathroom vanity drawer since the door opened inward and wouldn't open with the drawers out. My mom called the police and rushed over. Our house at the time was set up in such a way that we shared an entrance with the parking lot, so I'm assuming whoever was robbing us was parked over there, which is why I didn't notice any cars, and they got away so fast. My room was trashed, and my mom's room was trashed, and the TV and fishbowl were full of change were gone. The scariest part, to me, is not just that I was downstairs alone with the person, but I was in the same room. The basement was a one-bedroom with a huge living room. My mom had cut the living room in half with a big entertainment center, which the TV was in front of, but she had no door. Only a wide opening to one side. So while I was checking out the TV, somebody was on the other side of the entertainment center going through my mom's underwear drawer. How do I know? Because they stole her underwear. All of them except for one pair that was on the stairs when the cops got there. And it wasn't there when I went downstairs when I got home. Actually, my mom always said she thought it was a woman who robbed us because she assumed that she took all of her underwear and swimsuits same drawer to wear. I don't agree, though, although she could have been protecting her own feelings or mine at the time. Cops never found our stuff, and it took 10 years before my mom got a big TV like that again. So, creepy house robber, let's not meet. Number 5. This was about 2.5 years ago, and up to a few minutes ago, I don't think I really thought about it since. When this occurred, I was staying with my mother in an apartment while I was attending graduate school. Half my classes were online, and live classes were at night, so my sleep schedule was atypical. I'd often be sleeping during the day and awake at night. This particular night, I had awakened up around midnight, and maybe an hour later felt hungry, so I left for the nearby Jack in the Box. They have 24-hour drive-thru service. As I was walking toward the row of cars in front of my place where I was parked, which is probably 15 to 20 feet from the front door, I remember something. My mom had been nagging me recently to take her car if I was leaving somewhere at night. Her reasoning was that her car was safer and more reliable. Mine was older and way worse, but still not dangerous to drive. My mom's a bit paranoid about her children's safety and health. If you love me, you'll take a multivitamin every day, she used to say. But I appreciate it despite the constant nagging because I know she means well. About a foot away from my car when I can clearly remember seeing my driver door being closed. I decided to follow her request and take my car. And FYI, there was a car parked between mine and hers, so I drive to Jack in the Box, get my food, and return home. I am gone only 6 or 7 minutes tops. As I'm walking away from my mom's car, I happen to glance over and notice my driver door's open. Strange. Like I said, I distinctly remember it being closed right before I left. I walk over and notice the door is not just a little bit open, but actually opened about an inch and unlocked. I open the door and look inside to see my entire CD player and radio half ripped out. Whoever did it had used something sharp, probably a screwdriver or knife, to pry it open. I was a bit spooked, but I wasn't that freaked out yet, and not wanting to deal with it right then since it was 1 a.m. I just closed the door and locked it. It was when I went inside the apartment where it hit me. The person who did it was inside my car when I came out to drive to get food. That's why the thief didn't finish the job and left the CD player. And I remember the driver door being closed, which means just as I drove away in my mom's car, they got out of my car and took off. It was my mom's request to take her car instead of mine. That most likely prevented me from catching someone in the process of robbing me. Remember, I was only a foot away from my car when I decided to give in to her paranoid concerns. I can remember my thought process at the moment. Oh, right, she told me to take her car. Fine, I'll listen to her this time. Thanks, Mom. Because of your paranoia and nagging, you probably saved me from getting stabbed. Number 6. I was at the fair that comes to my town every year. It was closing soon, so I asked my friend if I could catch a ride with him. We were about 14, so we couldn't drive. We looked around for his mom for a while before the realization that she was gone, and we had to walk home. It was about 6 or 7 blocks away, and it was super dark. On our 3rd or 4th block, as we passed the street corner, we noticed a skinny, tall man in a hoodie walking down the street, walking in our direction. We slowed by the stop sign. He walked past us with a toothy grin, mumbled and laughed. "Be safe, kids," then chuckled. We walked sort of fast the rest of the way home. 2 blocks later, I looked back, getting the feeling that someone was watching me. I swear I saw a man duck behind a trash can. It had to be him. I motioned for my friend to look back, and he did notice the man. We literally ran all the way home and didn't stop till we were in the street behind our 2 houses. By the way, we lived across the street from each other. And we never saw him again. Number 7. I'm a 17-year-old male. My girlfriend is 18, and I live on around 150 acres of land in the south. Neighbors are scarce around here. My girlfriend had just finished her senior year of high school, and we've been planning on spending the summer together since she will be going to college soon, and won't have as much free time. I woke up and got a pot of coffee, going like I normally do. I turned on the news and waited for it to finish brewing. I began to feel uneasy, or a sense of foreboding. Something was off. I didn't know what it was. I finished off my cup of coffee, then hopped in my truck and began the trip to go and pick her up. I wasn't exactly excited about going to get her, as I have bad back, and driving for 20 minutes causes a lot of discomfort and pain. Now you're probably asking why she didn't just drive herself over to my house. Her car is old and was having alternator issues. I finally get to her place. She gets her things, and we head back to my house. As I drive down the long gravel road to my house, I begin to feel like something's not right, sorry. I ignore it and continue on. We get back to my house, and we go inside and get her things situated. My mom had a day off work, so I decided it would be nice to make us all a big breakfast. I fry up some eggs and bacon, make biscuits and gravy. We finish up, and my girlfriend and I decide we are going to head back through some woods to a creek, a small bank covered in sand. Now, if you didn't know, the U.S. is having a problem with feral hogs, so going into the woods without a gun is a bad idea. I grab the shotgun and some rounds, and we get going. And as we're walking through the woods, the feeling of dread comes back and is worse than before. I almost said we should go back home. I wish I did. We get to the beach, for lack of a better term, and we hang around, and after a while I say we should get headed home. As soon as I end my sentence, we heard rustling in the distance and it sounded like snarling or snorting. No creature could make it sound like this, though. It sounded demented and deranged. We get our crap together and start speed walking home. The rustling and snarling get more frequent the farther we walk. Keep in mind that we are walking through dense vegetation. I stayed probably 10 to 15 feet in front of her when walking in the woods. About halfway back to our house, my girlfriend drops her beach towel and reaches down to pick it up. As soon as she did, a man came running full speed through the woods, grabbed her by her hair and snarling, and what sounded like laughing mixed with screaming and crying. I can't even describe that noise. It paralyzed me. I was frozen for a split second before I continued to describe what the guy looked like. He had long matted hair, and looked like he hadn't shaven in weeks, and was wearing nothing but jeans that were ripped. I'm 6 feet and 120 pounds. I'm not the most threatening-looking dude out there. Now back to what I was saying. She started to scream my name and yell for help. I always carry a knife, and mostly for utility purposes, but using as a weapon against this guy was the last thing on my mind. I didn't know if he had rabies or some other disease, so I slung my shotgun off my back and racked the slide. If you don't know, just the sound of the shotgun slide can be enough to deter someone, so that was my mindset. I didn't have any rounds loaded or intention of loading any rounds. The man turned around, looked at me with an evil, sadistic smile, and for a split second, I thought he was going to come after me. Thankfully, he didn't. He ran back into the woods. I grabbed my girlfriend by the waist and pretty much dragged her the rest of the way home, shotgun in my other hand, ready to be used. We get back to the house, nearly bust the door down, and slam it shut and lock it. My girlfriend starts to cry. My mom comes running out of the other room, asks us what in the world happened. I explain everything to her, and she's stunned. You may be asking if we called the police or a sheriff's office. The answer is no, we didn't. My family isn't the type to do that. We handle things ourselves. We try to get my girlfriend calmed down. After about 30 minutes, she gets a grip on what just really happened. I tell her it's going to be all right. She's safe. I won't let anything bad happen to her. She goes and takes a shower and gets cleaned up. Between the humidity, sand, and most likely ticks and other stuff, we're both pretty filthy. While she's in there, my mom and I discuss what we should do now. Now I mentioned that we didn't call the law, but we near did. She gets out, and I ask her if she wants me to take her home. She says no. I could still see the fear in her eyes. She was terrified. I didn't let anyone know, but I was too. We all were. We still are. None of us slept at night. I sat up all night drinking pot after pot of coffee, just waiting for that crazy guy to come here. As soon as the sun came up, I called my dad and cousin and asked them to come over and bring my cousin's dog, a coon dog. We searched the woods for 2 hours and find nothing. Looking back on it, it was probably a meth cook that got some weird disease and went crazy. My girlfriend's still here, spending summer break with me. In fact, she's sitting with me as I type this. None of us can sleep at night. That sound still echoes through my head. The image of his face still buried into my brain. Update. I really should have mentioned that my girlfriend is 5'1" and weighs like 90 pounds. This dude could have easily picked her up and ran off with her. I was on my way home from school. Just so you know, I ride the bus. So I was just walking down my street after getting off the bus. I got to my house and noticed that my mom wasn't home. She hadn't told me, so I didn't know, but I really didn't care that much. I checked my bag, but I had forgotten my key. I ran around to the backyard and tried the back door, but that was locked too. So I went to my window, pulled the screen out, and jumped in. I got inside and texted my mom and asked her where she was. She told me that she'd be home in a few minutes, so I had to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, but as soon as I was about to close the door, I heard a loud scrape, as if a fingernail going across the door. So I turned around and didn't see anything, except for my dog in the living room staring behind the wall. If you don't understand what I mean, outside where the bathroom is, there's a hallway. Then you go straight out of the hallway, comes the living room, and it goes out on both sides. So he was staring at something that must have been on the side. So slowly I walked out there, and there's nothing there. I looked around and didn't find anything, until I heard something in my room. I walked in and noticed a man running into the woods behind my house. Yeah, next time find myself home alone after school, I'll be sure to lock my door back. So, when I was in middle school, there was a kid named Chris. He was very strange. He always wanted to touch people's ears, and basically would just stare at you. Every single day was a new target, and unfortunately for me, I was a target on more than one occasion. He would just walk up to you and sit next to you, even if it wasn't his seat. He would just stare at you and ask you very personal questions, like where I lived, what I was interested in, and on one strange occurrence, how much I weighed. Anyway, this kid was very strange. Everyone got bad vibes from him. But, fortunately, he was expelled. Apparently, he had been taking videos of people and sharing them on the internet. Hey guys, I hope you liked this video. This was a longer one than I usually do, and I'm planning on doing more like this. Tell me if you like it in the comments. Also, in this video, one of these stories was actually based off one of my own occurrences in real life. Tell me in the comments which one you think that was, and I will reveal the answer in the next video. Also, if you have a horror story, original horror story, or artwork, and you'd like featured on the channel, send it in to basementhorrors@gmail.com. It'll also be featured in the description. And if you have any questions for me for a potential future Q&A, ask those in the comments too. Thanks, guys. And as always, have a horrific day. Hey guys, Basement Horrors. I hope you liked this video. It's a lot longer than the ones I usually do, and I'm planning on doing more of these. If you like this video, tell me in the comments. Also, one of these stories is based on a true occurrence of my own. If you think you know which one that is, tell me in the comments. And as always, have a horrific day.